Hello, everyone. This is Cassandra Williamson coming to you live from a holler in Eastern Kentucky. That's kind of funny. It is. I made every effort. I'll tell you, I made every effort I could that I could possibly do to make sure I stayed away from here, get away from this place here. But I had to come back when the family called. Right when your family needs help, you go if you can, and I could. So I'm here. I'm about 2 miles up in a holler. I'm almost near the end of the darn thing. If you go any further up the creek, as it's called here, then you'll go about another 1.5 miles and there's just forest. That's it, just forest. So anyway, welcome to the midday muster, folks. So we got a few things I want to talk about today. First thing is, one, I turned 66 today, and I still feel like I'm 20. Well, times 3. Geez, it's been it's been interesting. And this week's going to be even more so because I'm leaving out tomorrow morning early. I'm driving from here down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's about a 9-hour drive. I'm going down there to meet with my sister, 2 of my daughters, 2 of my grandsons, and their in-laws and outlaws. So going down there, and then one of my daughters is riding with me, and we're going to continue driving Wednesday morning, Thursday morning. We're going to continue driving real early, leave from Tuscaloosa and go over to Killeen, Texas. So I have a granddaughter who's graduating high school on the 23rd. It's just crazy in Killeen. It's like, my gosh, what the heck's going on? All these grandkids. Jeez, there's 8 of them. So we got this grandkid who's getting ready to graduate from high school. Oh my gosh. And then she'll turn 18 in July. And it's like, what? And 2 more graduate next year. And I'm glad. I'm so glad. I'm glad that they are. It just makes you feel your age a little bit more. So, yeah. So, oh my gosh, it's just time is flying up here in the hills of Eastern Kentucky. If you don't know anything about Eastern Kentucky, it's basically it used to be a major coal mining area. Major. That was the biggest thing here. Started back in like 1895 that people they started realizing that there was a lot of coal in this area. So they actually built a railroad station, major interchange, whatever you want to call that, in Williamson, West Virginia, which is just right across the river from Kentucky. And so they built that, and then the city just populated up around it. Well, they started the city as a way to get the railroad to come in, and the railroad came in and went there. So, yeah, coal was huge. It was huge here for the longest time, but now you'll see a few 18-wheeler trucks out here on occasion hauling coal. There's 1 or 2 smaller mines around, but the biggest mining business and industry around here right now is not coal. It's Bitcoin mining. They actually went into where all of the old preparation plants were, where they processed all the coal they dug out of the ground. And since those things are no longer being used here, they had a lot of power there. So these Bitcoin mining operations need a lot of power. So it was ready-made for them. They just go in and build up their systems, and right there they are. There's several of those in the county, and it's really good. I'm glad. Yeah, across the river. That's in Pike County, Kentucky. Across the river in Mingo County, West Virginia. Well, that's a different. They have the same problems going on with mining there too. There's not much of it, but the thing that's taken over, besides just the Bitcoin mining, which doesn't hire a lot of people, but the thing that is kicking off around here and has been for a number of years now has been these ATV trail rides. They are all over the place here. I mean, there's the Hatfield-McCoy Trail System in Kentucky and West Virginia, and people come in here and rent these cottages out a year or 2 in advance. Corporations rent them up, and it's like, whoa, my goodness, it's crazy. The massive amount of resources that's gone into creating these trails, making it accessible, putting in all the cabins and all of this stuff. I mean, that's the big thing around here right now is tourism. That's the biggest thing. And, the county has adapted. People around here have adapted for the most part. The people here are strong and resilient, and they know what it takes to survive and thrive. Yes, there's a lot of poverty here. Yes, there is. There are a lot of people here who are addicted to drugs, that's the same all across the country. But that's the case here too. So all of that stuff is taking place here, but the biggest industry right now happens to be tourism, particularly with the trail riders that come in here, the motorcycles and the four-wheelers, and oh my gosh, they are everywhere. Everywhere. And they don't rent hotel rooms. Nope. They rent a cabin. And those cabins, I'm going to tell you, the cabins are something else. I mean, geez, air conditioned. Some of them are air conditioned, and people, like I said before, they come in and rent it. And that's a really big business in this area, and I'm very happy for that. I'm proud of the fact that the people here, all of my family, and I call them all of my family because there are no family trees around here. There might be one or two, but most of them are. You know what a totem pole is? There are no branches on this family tree. Everybody's related and have been since the middle of the 1800s. Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of stuff in the area, and if you're interested in coming in, you need to check it out. Look up Williamson, West Virginia on your computer. Check it out. There's all kinds of stuff going on. The town was founded in, like I said, in 1895, and it's really, really weird because it was all the Williamson family land, all of it. That and the minerals and everything there across the river on Kentucky side and in West Virginia. And yeah, that was the only name they could give it. Williamson, which is the county seat for Mingo County. And then the Williamsons ran it for, I think, 1 or 2 elections or something and whatever. But then right now the streets are run down. I think it's mostly just lawyers and bars and court, police and the fire department, and ATVs everywhere. And a hotel that's just set up for the railroad people will come through. But it really has a lot of potential to grow. But right now, I think it needs the Williamson family to come back in and take the darn thing over. It needs, something's going on there. I happen to live across the river, so I'm ineligible to participate in that. But I would seriously consider running the darn place and straightening the streets out at least. You'll lose your car over there. And I have a little Mini Cooper, and my little Mini Cooper, it goes through some bumps. Well, they're not bumps. They're holes, almost like a deep hole, a deep well hole. There are holes everywhere. And you come out and hit the bump on the other end. Boom, boom, boom. But that's the biggest thing. And I think maybe that's part of the appeal is that it's all rough, and the trail riders, they can ride up and down the highways. They ride up and down the freeway. It's not really a freeway. It's a 4-lane highway through here, 119 and 52. They can ride on the roads. All they have to do is they're required to have their helmets on. Most of them don't wear a helmet, but that's the extent of it. And they're everywhere. And yeah, and you can hear them in the hills. Well, right now what you hear are the cicadas, the locusts. It's loud. It's like tinnitus. I woke up one morning, I thought it was tinnitus that had gotten really bad. And I stepped out and I said, wait a minute, this is, the cicadas came out. The locusts are here. So that's what's going on around here in the hills. And as I said at the top of the show, I will be on the road for the next several days. I'll do what I can to make sure that I do something midday for the midday muster, as well as the 6 o'clock show. I'll do it on the road. The one tomorrow night will be done actually from Tuscaloosa. I think my family wants to have a birthday party kind of dinner thing and all of that since I hit the big 6-6. And I'm going to tell you, that really doesn't seem right. I mean, mental clarity and all. I've always worried about it, but I actually feel like I'm doing all right mentally. Well, some would debate that, but that's on them, not me. See, you know what I learned when I was I knew it before I went into the military, because I was raised in a family that was very strong, very sturdy, very engaged with all of us. There were 6 kids in the family. Dad and mom raised us, and they did a tremendously fantastic job of it. Um, Dad was a business owner. He worked in the mines. He worked. I mean, he did everything. He was also a scoutmaster for 25 years. So all of us learned. He had a construction business. All of us learned how to weld and build things and all of that kind of stuff. I'd say by the time we were 4. So we were into it all, except for me. I did learn a lot of it. Okay, I learned a lot from Dad on all that kind of thing, and I actually made a living doing that after I got out of the military. I made a decent living at that, being in construction and metal buildings and stuff like that. I'd put them up all over the place, from Nebraska to wherever, Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee. I mean, you name it. I was putting up metal buildings all over the place as my own contractor and as a certified construction person, or whatever it is. I had a Tennessee license. But so I learned a lot from Dad. I learned a lot about family from Dad, and learned a lot about, canoeing down the Tug River, hiking. We went everywhere and did all kinds of stuff. And I remember, I'll tell you a story. One time he said, "Now we're going to go out and do some work." We worked all the time. There was never a break, really. And I was very much a nerd. When I was in high school back in, last century, I was doing college level courses in the evenings. On the weekends, I'd go out and work with Dad in his construction business, his welding business. And one morning we got up and he said, "Hey, let's go. We're going to go out and do some work on this piece of mining equipment." If I told you, you probably wouldn't recognize it. Some of you might. But an auger used to drill a big hole about 3 feet wide into a mountain and pull the coal out. Yeah, that's fun. But that stuff breaks down, and that's Daddy would go weld it all back up. So I participated in a lot of that. I went to the Boy Scout camp a lot of times. I was there the whole summer. And it was a lot of fun. I grew up in a little place, another holler around here, Beach Creek, and you could hear the horses coming from over the hill, across the hill on Belfry. Belfry, the little community, Belfry High School was on one side, and we lived over on Forest Hills. And somebody on the other side had horses, but we could hear them when they came running across the top of the hill and charge down through there, and they'd run out, and it was the most exciting thing that I remember I ever did regarding those horses was that we knew what path they would follow. We knew the path they would follow through the woods and through the trees and down the hill. So I remember one day I climbed up in this tree with a branch that hung out over the path, and I waited for that horse, and I'm going, "Here it comes." Vroom, 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 vroom. Well, it got right under me, and I dropped out of the tree. That horse was shocked. I grabbed it by the neck. There was no bridle. There was no saddle, nothing. I just grabbed it by the neck and held on as it sprinted off down the hill. Yeah, we had a good time up in Hollers. Yeah. So we had really strong families, and we learned to be resilient and how to overcome things and how to make it in the world, even if the world was standing against you. So it was really good. I went into the military, and none of it was hard, not physically hard or mentally or emotionally hard or anything like that. It never was, because I'd been through all of that stuff with Dad, and Dad had been in the Navy, and he was a steel worker in the Navy in the 50s, building the towers to test atomic bombs on in the Philippines. So we learned a lot that way. And so It was natural for me to go into the military. The family didn't have the money to send me into college, so I used the military as a way to get in. And I was able to get to the I went through crypto school in the Navy, and and rode submarines for a while, and I loved it on the submarines. Stuck in a little radio room, all that on the subs, and you know, engaging with electronics signals as a crypto tech. I can't tell you any more about it. Yep, still to this day. So that was fun. And then I got the appointment to the Naval Academy and went through the prep school in Rhode Island and graduated Naval Academy, went into the Marine Corps, and just it's been relatively easy for me to be able to do all those things. But that comes from a place of personal strength, I guess, and resilience, and also unwilling to sit back and just accept things, to let things happen and blame everybody else for it. No. The thing that I've learned over all these years has been that you take responsibility for things, you move forward, and you keep moving, you keep doing things. And that's what we're seeing in the world today. See, we're seeing a lot of people who are being forced now, even though I warned them for the past 3 or 4 years, they're being forced now to confront the very possible reality that their existence is going to be threatened. Actually, it is threatened. And their lives are going to be under threat. And they're going to have to rely on, one, themselves, their chosen families or their families, whichever one that they have access to, and their friends and community. And they're going to have to figure out how to do these things and make it through, because it's not going to get any easier. It's going to become more challenging because this current iteration of our constitutional republic has a few difficulties, ethical and moral difficulties. Okay, that's putting it mildly. But the thing that's happening right now, they're denying our right to live freely in our own country. For me and for many others who are veterans who have served our nation, and it's just atrocious to me that they're stripping away all the things that help us through there, that help some who can't help themselves through these things. Now, I've been saying this for a while too. If you are someone like me who has a Marine Corps voice and a completely different body, physically completely different, the world is a little more challenging. But look, I want you to think about something. Here I am in redneck Kentucky and West Virginia, in the border state right here. Virginia is just right there. West Virginia and Kentucky, all in that little corner right there. That whole region, that's all deep, dark, redneck country. Okay? And to give you an example, to kind of show you what I mean by this, I think it was back in in the 1990s, I came back here, and I was driving my kids around, going into West Virginia and Kentucky and Virginia and places like that. And I go from Pike County, Kentucky over into Buchanan County, Virginia, and that area, Grundy, Virginia. And you cross the state line and you drop down, and there's a high school. You're coming up on this old high school. It's really old looking high school. And on the end doors, each of the two end doors, there was a long building, like 2 or 3 stories tall, but they had the big doors on each end that opened up, the double doors, and you had the front entrance. Well, those 2 double doors on the end, they had the rebel flag right there. And this is also the county where you had signs up until recently, really, that said, if you are dark skinned, don't be here after dark. That's this place. It's not like that now. Okay. It's not, I'm sure there are still those people here. They don't go away. They just kind of migrate into different things. But here I am out every day. I go out and I meet people. I talk to people. I go shopping. I go into restaurants. I knock on people's doors even, because I've got I do this thing called DoorDash, and if you're not familiar, that just gives me a little extra cash. And if you need extra cash, sign up for DoorDash. Don't sit back there and do nothing and claim you don't have anything. Get out of your ass and go get doing something. Go do DoorDash or Spark or whatever it is with Walmart or something like that. Go sign up for those things, because there are plenty of ways for you to make a living around here. We know how to be resilient. I've been in, I couldn't tell you the different industries that I've been in since I left the military. Construction, restaurant businesses, a newspaper, retail stores. Oh my gosh. Let me see what else. I had a temporary services company that provided employees to the mining industry. Real estate appraisal business, real estate license. And I was like, nothing can stop us. No, we know how to do all this, right? We know that we have to count on ourselves, and you pull up your bootstraps and you pull up your panties and you move forward and you don't look back. But you have to do those things if you're going to make it through where we are now, because right now the effort in this country is to completely ostracize and further marginalize this population of people, the LGBT and T people in this country. They're not just going for the kids. They're not just going for trans people. If you think that they are, then you've got your head stuck in the sand. I've been warning you about this for a long time now. It's never been just about protecting the kids. They have been after the LGBT and T for 75 years at least. Try to shove them all back under the back floorboard of the closet and nail the thing down on you. That's what they want to do. And how do I know that? Well, this past weekend on the big weekend show on Fox News, I watched it. After about 3/4 of the way through, they started talking about trans elders. And they said, after they did a little bit about saying, oh, I can't believe we got to talk about trans elders. I said it. And then after that, they go into all the 4 panelists. They're going into that diatribe against transgender people. And they said, we can't believe that you got to have, these transgender people are needing nursing homes. They're in nursing homes now and retirement homes. And that's just, these are their words. They said, this is just unethical and immoral. They shouldn't have those people there. Well, look, that pisses me off. It ought to piss you off too. You ought to be riled up about all of this kind of stuff, because they're going after everyone. They want you gone. If you want to find out what the steps are, just follow the sequence of things that Kevin Roberts laid out in the foreword to Project 2025. It's there. It's laid out, and just start reading on page 1 of the foreword. You don't have to read the whole darn book or the manuscript or document or whatever it is. I've got the document somewhere. But you can go right on down to the middle of page 5, and they start equating transgender people with pornography. And then they say they should all be locked up. You better be preparing yourself for what's getting ready to come, folks. They want to take you out of society completely. And you're just sitting back here going, lolly, 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 lolly. It's all right. We'll be fine. Yeah, we'll be fine. I know I will be fine for sure. But I also know how to survive through those things if it becomes necessary to do so. You need to get your head wrapped around these things, because as long as they have the power, they are going after you. They have wanted us gone, LGBT people. Like I said, 75 years. And here we are. We have people who are saying, no, it's not that bad. Or this is the one that really gets me too. You shouldn't be doing all of that kind of stuff because, it can, it's you're putting it out there too much. Well, let me just say this, is that I understand that perspective. I do. I get it. But for me, where I'm out here a lot and I'm out doing things a lot and I'm speaking on behalf of myself and others like me, well, I've got to show you that we can make it. that we can survive all of this. Many of us are not going through difficult times. Many of us who are elders in this community, they know how to pull it in, regain their strength and reserves, and then move ahead. That's what you need to be doing. Anyway, come back this evening at 6 and we'll have another just casual conversation. Let me see what's down here in the chat box. Let's see who's down here. Hi, Devana. Happy birthday. Thank you. Yeah, it's big 6'6". Oh my gosh, it's just surprising. And this one is Devana's my first cousin, by the way. Scouts were a big part for you guys and your dad and brothers. Horace, you're lucky to be alive. Yeah, well, we were up in that holler, and there are plenty of stories from being up in that holler over there in Kentucky, in Pike County, Fort Sill. And I think Daniel got on a D9 dozer one time and took the corner of the house out. He was only about 8 or 9 years old. I'll tell you one more story and I'll go, okay? And this one speaks a little bit about my perspective on it. So Dad was into all kinds of things like I was. And he had a steam cleaning business, a pressure washer kind of business where after he cleaned up all these pieces of equipment out in the mines and things like that, or whatever he was doing, he got into steam cleaning and to clean the dirt and the mud and all that stuff off things and pressure washer stuff. Well, he had a 55-gallon drum of industrial strength soap sitting beside the house. And it had been raining that day, and all of us were in school, and somebody somehow or something happened. That big 55-gallon drum of industrial soap tipped over, and it ran down the creek. Half a mile. We lived half a mile up in this little road, Beach Street or whatever it is, and we're on the school bus, and here's my brothers and sisters. We're all riding up through there on the school bus, and we start seeing this trickle of foam before we even get to the mouth of our holler. And foam and soap suds. It was just all in the creek. You could just see it. It just got bigger and bigger and bigger as you got closer to our holler. And I knew immediately where that came from. It turned up in our holler, and I go, oh my God. So embarrassed. I was embarrassed about that. I didn't even want to hang out with my brothers and sisters with that one, because you know what they were doing? They were making tunnels through this stuff. It was so tall. That soap was everywhere for half a mile up in that holler. It just climbed up into trees, big soap. There, I can look back on it and laugh now, but then I was just so freaking embarrassed. And they always wore jeans and things, and I had to wear their khaki pants. Yeah, I wasn't quite like them, but it was still fun, and we had a good time together up in there, and we learned a lot. But the biggest thing, as I said before, is we know how to do all this, folks, and you can keep on doing it and make the best of your lives, and don't do the stupid crap that draws attention to you or somebody else. Leave that up to me. I can do it.